everyone, get ready with me today while I talk about Norman fucking Rockwell. This guy right here, the guy that Lana Del Rey named her album and her song after. So I'm going to be telling you all about Norman Rockwell, who was an illustrator and a painter. Norman Rockwell was born on February 3rd, 1894 in New York, to his father Jarvis and his mother Anne Rockwell. Growing up in New York City, he really came to love the arts, and at the age of 14, he was enrolled into the New York School of Arts. After attending for about 2 years, he decided to drop out of high school and study at the National Academy of Design in 1910, eventually transfer to the Art Students League of New York. His first commission, actually, up with the times, was a set of Christmas cards. After graduating, he started work immediately as an illustrator for the Boys Life magazine, and in 1916, he was newly married at the age of 22, and he would also start working for the Saturday Evening Post. Rockwell's relationship with the Saturday Evening Post, still a very well-known relationship, and is regarded as one of his biggest contributions to the art world. Rockwell had a 47-year relationship with them and created 321 covers for the Post over that period of time. So what was Rockwell all about? Rockwell lived through a lot due to the time period that he was born in. He lived through World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, and the Vietnam War. These times strongly influenced his art and stressed focus on life as an American, finding the good and strength of the US people, the country as a whole, and then trying to focus on that. Appreciating small-town American life was kind of his thing. He has a lot of pieces incorporating his sense of humor, which he's very well known for as well. It was this combination that made him associated with the American realism movement, and so many Americans relate to him. Although the American people loved his work, most critics did not. They found that his work really had no real artistic merit, which is absolutely insane to say if you're looking at the same artwork that I am putting up on this screen. Rockwell was extremely well known for his amazing attention to detail, much like the European art that he studied. Eventually, in 1930, Rockwell remarried to a teacher named Mary Barstow, and he had 3 children. With his family, he ended up moving to Vermont in 1939. This is where a lot of his small-town American work flourished. Rockwell would also start working on World War II posters as the years went on. It was not rare for all artists at this time to create propaganda posters. Many of Rockwell's pieces of work during this time were propaganda posters and contributed towards the war effort. Not only did he create posters for the war, but he also created the 4 freedoms. The 4 freedoms are 4 illustrations that resembled the freedom of speech, the freedom of want, the freedom of worship, and the freedom from fear. Ended up raising $130 million towards war efforts. Norman Rockwell had become the face of everything American. After World War II, Rockwell moved to Stockbridge, Massachusetts in 1953. This is where he would live out for the rest of his life. Though his work depicted the joys of American life, during the 50s, some of his best work sprouted from his spells of depression. Rockwell said, "Maybe as I grew up and found the world wasn't the perfect place I had thought it to be, I unconsciously decided that if it wasn't an ideal world, it should be. And so I only painted the ideal aspects of it." I think this quote is really something that a lot of people can relate to. When things are not as amazing as we once believed them to be, we often decide to only focus on the aspects that are beautiful, or we're determined to make those things beautiful. Also during this time, the abstract expressionist movement was in full swing. You've got artists like Jackson Pollock, Mark Rothko, and William de Kooning pumping out works that were the complete opposite of what Rockwell made. Did make a few pieces regarding the movement. Most famous ones is The Connoisseur. This was inspired by a drip painting done by Jackson Pollock. Rockwell has been seen as the foe of the avant-garde. He took this as a challenge. Through many studies on abstract expressionism, he decided to create this piece and a few others with the help of his son Peter. To create this piece, he used oil on canvas and combined 2 different styles to create the piece, his own personal style and then the Jackson Pollock drip. Many are actually unsure if Rockwell used the drip technique to create this piece or not. Whether or not he did use the drip technique, even people like William de Kooning stated that square inch by square inch, it's better than Jackson. Sadly, around this time, Rockwell's wife Mary did die of an unexpected heart attack. Rockwell went on to remarry, and he started working with a new magazine, Look. Not only did he shift away from the magazine that he's been working with for most of his life, but his work's purpose also started to shift. With the rise of the civil rights movement, his focus shifted to social issues that we're now facing in the country, such as race, poverty, and of course, the Vietnam War. During the shift, he created one of his most famous pieces called The Problem We All Live With, inspired by 6-year-old Ruby Bridges. Rockwell had read about Ruby in a paper and he was moved by her story. Rockwell had received a lot of hate mail for this piece, actually. It was clear that some Americans were not happy that he was suddenly shifting from the all-white American-inspired art to supporting the civil rights movement through his works. This piece of work was truly amazing. The attention to detail to every square inch of the piece is absolutely undeniable. Rockwell asked Linda Gunn, a 9-year-old girl, to model young Ruby Bridges. He also used photos of himself to help create the folds of the clothes accurately. This is how Rockwell created most of his paintings and illustrations. Rockwell would use photographs and stage models, take photos of the stage models, and then project those images onto a canvas. He would use these projections as a form of appropriation, which is like a tracing technique. This piece is regarded as one of the most important pieces during the civil rights movement. President Barack Obama hung it up outside of the Oval Office. Clearly, Rockwell lived an extremely eventful life. Skip to January 10th, 1977. Norman Rockwell is presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Gerald Ford. During his speech, President Ford explained Norman Rockwell and his work the best. Artist, illustrator, and author Norman Rockwell has portrayed the American scene with unrivaled freshness and clarity. Insight, optimism, and good humor are all the hallmarks of his artistic style. His vivid and affectionate portraits of our country and ourselves have become a beloved part of the American tradition. Sadly, a year after receiving the medal in 1978, Rockwell did die at the age of 84. However, it is very clear that his legacy and impactful art will never lose its influence. Funny enough, while I was creating this video and the script for this, I was at a Barnes & Noble, and of course I had to take a look around at some things, and I found a calendar that is completely made up of Norman Rockwell covers. It's very clear that the impact that his art had on this world is not going away anytime soon. An example of this is also Lana Del Rey's album. The cover art is actually inspired by some of his artwork. The concept behind Lana's entire album is the American dream. Who better to represent the American dream than Norman fucking Rockwell?